Herb journals are a tool that I think all herbalists should have. So if you're not sure what an herb journal is, I define it as a collection of research and pictures and information that you collect about plants. And so here I look inside my own, and you can make your own, but I think it's important to have. I like to have lots of different pictures as well as a place to draw my own picture. Even though I'm not a good artist, when I try to draw the pictures, it really makes me look at every little detail about the plants, and I may notice something that I didn't just from a quick glance. So I also have the name and the common name, and we'll actually look a little bit closer. I just wanted to show you a brief idea of what one might look like. So let's look a little bit closely. You want to start off with one plant. Work at one plant at a time. And let's look at some of the components that you want to notate. And then we'll also look at some places where you can find this information and some of the tips that I have for those who need to compile their own. So I like to start off with the name of the plant, very simple. And then you want to have the scientific name, and that's because sometimes the next section, which includes common names, can kind of confuse you about which plant it's talking about, and it can differ from region to region. So with using the scientific name or the Latin name, you can identify the plants more easily. I get a little bit more detail than others, so I include things like energetics and the organ affinity and the actions of plants as well. And you can choose to include these or keep these out if you desire. Here's a look into my very own herb journal, and it is well loved. And you know, some herbs just call you a little bit differently, and you may have a little bit more information and knowledge, but you want to ideally get all the sections filled out. But some plants it's harder to find as much concrete evidence for. So let's take a look at some of the books that you might want to use to get your reference section filled out. And I'll have links down below to all of the books that I show. What you'll find is you won't be able to find every single thing in one book. So you want to have more than one. So I would actually have all three. And I'm glad that I have all three. And I actually use them differently and even together because some might not have a certain herb and some may have certain information that another one doesn't. So what you'll find is that each of the books have their own reference information that they feel is important. So this one has part to use, key actions, and as you can see, the actions are far and few between, whereas I like to really list them out. At least 15 different actions of the plants can be really helpful. This one has color pictures, but not all reference books have color, and not all have actual pictures. So if that's important to you, then you might want to choose accordingly as well. And some have more information than others. Like this dispensatory, it has no pictures, it's black and white, and it has less information, but I think that it has some information that you wouldn't find in the others. It does list energetics, and so did the first book. The other book doesn't. And I just find that you might have a little bit more clinical experience type information in this book. So that's why I actually like to use it. And some herbs that may not be in the others were in this one. So it's good to have a collection of more than one. I think it's a good idea that while you are notating information about herbs, that you should also be drinking them and using them in so many different ways and cooking with it and use it for external preparations. Really use the herbs in multiple different ways. Steep it for longer amounts or shorter amounts. Try to grow it from seed and look at different varieties of it as well. Really immerse yourself in the plant and give yourself time to study each one. Usually 1 to 2 weeks on each herb is recommended. I hope that this encourages you to start your herb journal and helps you on your herbal journey.